Finally, Sonic and Lobster together at last. Cards on the table, I was honestly not particularly hyped for this game. When the game was first revealed, I was pretty underwhelmed with what I saw, and most of the marketing didn't really do much to assuage my fears. So let's just say I went in with exceedingly low expectations. I mean, considering Sonic Team's output in the last decade, I'd say this was fair. So, to state the obvious, this game is taking heavy inspiration from Zelda Breath of the Wild. Like, I already knew that going in, but goddamn, they were really inspired, huh? You've got your shrines, your little overworld puzzles, your little guides that are used for upgrades, the purple coins found in out-of-the-way locations. The first thing you'll notice is that the boost is severely nerfed compared to other Sonic games, to the point where it basically just feels like a sprint. It actually kind of ruins the whole song being muffled while you boost effect in the Cyberspace levels for me. Because when you boosted in the previous titles, you really felt like you were going so fast you could barely hear the song. In this game, I just don't really buy it. They should have removed this feature. And I'm pretty sure there's already mods that can do this on PC. Now once you actually start playing the game, the less powerful boost makes sense because it allows for more precision. And there's also a new system where you go twice as fast when your rings are maxed out, which feels a lot more like the traditional boost. So it was a little odd at first, but I came around to this new system. I'm not entirely sure what the point of upgrading your ring counter is. It just makes it so you have to take longer spamming Psyloop to max out your rings. It's a little weird, you basically have instant access to infinite rings at all times, but hey, I'm not complaining. If your max rings started at like 100 and increased in 50 ring intervals or something, then maybe I could see it, but the game starts you off with a generously high max ring count and increasing it barely adds any rings to the cap, so I just chose to level up speed instead. I mean, it's right there. I'm gonna be honest, I'm still not really sold on the art design of this game. Plenty of people have already made the Sega hire this man joke, but yeah, the generic looking Unity demo ass environments with all the floating rails and platforms, it's not really doing it for me. I would have preferred a more Sonic-y overall look to the game. I mean, sometimes I looked around and I was like, yeah, this looks alright. But in some other places, particularly with lots of shit floating around, it just looked kinda cluttered and ugly. This game has its fair share of jank. I mean, it is a Sonic game after all, but I wouldn't say it was an exceptionally glitchy game or anything. To address the most obvious glaring technical flaw, the pop-in is absolutely horrendous in this game. It is really, really bad. I wouldn't say it ruins the game or anything, but nobody is going to play this game and not notice the pop-in, so I would feel like an asshole if I didn't mention it. You will constantly see things not even that far away from you really, just blink into existence and remind you, ah yes, that classic Sonic Team lack of polish. It's funny, the Cyberspace levels are basically literally what I would have described as my worst nightmare scenario for the next Sonic game. Like, it's actually comical how there's only 4 types of Cyberspace levels, 3 of which are just Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary. Like, good god, if you're just going to reuse assets from a previous game for this shit, could you have at least picked some other ones instead? I truly don't care what asinine story explanation they have for the fact that a bunch of these Cyberspace layouts are just recreations of previous levels in the series. It's just kind of pathetic to be reusing level layouts and graphical assets from previous games like this. Like, I was playing through one level and I realized it was a recreation of Sky Sanctuary from Generations, using assets taken from Sky Sanctuary from Generations, and I had a moment where I was like, good god, what am I doing with my life? If I wanted to play this, I would just play Sonic Generations. So I feel like I have a million reasons I should hate this game, but I don't know. For whatever reason, I didn't. In fact, I actually kind of liked it. I should make it clear that this is not my platonic ideal vision of what a Sonic game should be or anything like that. There's definitely a point in my life I would have hated this game for what it wasn't, rather than trying to appreciate it for what it is. Like, yeah, it would be cool if there was real momentum and rolling physics and stuff like that, but at this point I've just kind of accepted that we're never gonna get a game like that from Sonic Team. I can't help but compare this game to Sonic Forces, and it is a whole lot better than that game. Frankly, I'm just very grateful that this is something different. Like, I think a big reason people responded so well to Breath of the Wild was because of how linear and stagnant that series had become. Similarly, I really could not take just another standard boost game. Forces was a level of series stagnation that I didn't even think was possible until I experienced it. That doesn't necessarily mean we needed to go open world, but hey, like I said, at least it's different. What can I say? It just feels nice to move Sonic around in a 3D environment, which really shouldn't be too much to ask for from a 3D Sonic game, but you'd be surprised. I'm no die-hard boost gameplay hater or anything, but goddamn, I was getting pretty sick of just boosting down hallways. I know Adventure 1 and especially 2 are guilty of some hallway level design at points, but those games it still felt like I was moving a character designed to explore a three-dimensional environment, not driving a race car. So yeah, there is fun to be had with the movement in this game. Boost jumping off of rails was pretty satisfying. Boost jumping off of slopes seems a little less broken than previous games, but you can still use the double jump to air dash method to sort of triple jump your way up and around a lot of the map. There are definitely some aspects of the movement I found kind of odd. Like, it's a little strange that no matter how fast you're going, you can instantly stop on a dime just by letting go of the stick. The way you're sort of like magnetized to the ground can be annoying at times. Like, I guess Sonic doesn't run on top of the water like a cool guy anymore, he just instantly sinks to the bottom the moment he touches it. The wall running is a neat mechanic in theory, but I wish it was used more and in creative and interesting ways. Oh yeah, and accidentally entering a 2D section of the open world when you didn't mean to was pretty annoying. I also kept forgetting the drop dashes in the game, probably because you have to press and hold the button again after double jumping, so 3 button presses total. I kept accidentally starting the drop dash and not knowing what the hell that sound effect was. But yeah, it's pretty neat. It's no SA1 spin dash, but I thought including it was a nice touch, even though I did just boost everywhere most of the time. The combat in this game is fine. Like I said that one time I was bitching about Sonic Heroes, I don't really think combat should be the focus in a Sonic game. If I wanted to play Devil May Cry, I'd play Devil May Cry. But that said, it didn't really bother me too much this time. And unlike in Sonic Unleashed, it doesn't take up like 75% of the runtime of the entire game. It's usually in pretty manageable little chunks. And if you really hate the combat that much in Frontiers, it's pretty easy to avoid combat encounters by just running around them. And I guess if you really hate the combat, you can basically skip it altogether by just buying the gears from the fishing minigame. I will say the Guardians were kind of a mixed bag. Some were pretty cool and I enjoyed fighting them, whereas others I was not particularly impressed by. It's kind of a strange choice to make the parry not timing dependent at all. Like, they could have just given it a really generous window if they wanted it to be easy. But I don't really understand the point of these parry challenges you can do around the map. Like, these legitimately should not be in the game. Like, you can't fail these, you just hold R1 and L1. I'm gonna be honest, doing boring puzzles is not really my idea of good Sonic gameplay. I understand these have to be accessible to younger kids, but some of these are really stretching the definition of the word puzzle, and it's not like they really get much more advanced as the game goes on. I mean seriously, who the fuck actually enjoys playing a Sonic game and sees this shit and gets excited like, oh boy, a puzzle! Time to stop doing fun Sonic things like running around and jumping so I can solve this grade school level brain teaser. Instead of puzzles, there could have been more cool movement-based challenges or just something else to unlock parts of the map, I don't know. Anything but this. The puzzles you can only do at nighttime were really annoying too. Despite all that shit I was talking about the cyberspace levels earlier, due to the way the game is formatted, I actually didn't mind doing them that much. You do spend most of the time just running around the open world, occasionally stopping to do one of these linear stages. They're usually pretty short, like around a minute and a half or so, which again, if these were the only stages in the game, that would be a horrifically embarrassing length, but as far as little side activities go, it's alright. Again, I more have an issue with these things on a conceptual level. Actually playing them isn't so bad. The fact they're sometimes reusing level layouts from previous games is somewhat mitigated by how they feel different to play because you're doing it with Frontiers movement. I'm not entirely sure that a mission-based approach is the ideal way to go for these cyberspace levels. Each stage has 4 missions, although one of them is just beat the level, so really every stage has 3 additional missions, and they're always the same. Beat the level with a certain number of rings, beat the level under a certain time limit, and collect all 5 red rings. Of course, the location of the red rings, the ring requirement, and the time requirement vary depending on the stage, but you'll be doing the same type of thing in every cyberspace level. Now, beating the stage with a certain amount of rings is another requirement you're likely to accidentally complete on your first try. It's not a particularly exciting mission. I can only recall a couple times I actually had to go out of my way to grab extra rings for it. So the entire challenge essentially boils down to if you get hit near the end of the stage, you have to restart, which is probably something you'd be doing anyways if you're trying to get a good time. So in essence, every stage really only has 2 meaningful missions, the red rings and the S rank. At least in theory, because unfortunately a lot of the S rank times are extremely lenient. The red rings are also all in very easy to find locations. Like, look at this red ring that's right at the start of the stage. What is the point in this red ring even existing? Like, yeah, I know this is 1-2, it's an early stage, so you could say that it's trying to teach you about the existence of red rings or something, but trust me, they're all in insanely obvious locations. You don't need to literally spoon feed the player a red ring. It's not like someone's gonna beat the game without accidentally stumbling across one. 99% of them are just sitting out in the open on the main path. The game also heavily incentivizes you to beat all 4 missions, because you're given 3 bonus keys for beating every mission. So if you're just like sitting there with 3 out of the 4 missions done, you actually only have 3 out of 7 possible keys from the cyberspace level. The game seemingly wants you to be able to get the red rings and get an S rank on the same run, which happened to me many times throughout my playthrough. And so the only way to really make that possible was to have incredibly generous time limits for the S rank and incredibly obvious red ring locations, which unfortunately kinda kills the fun of both objectives to me. I don't know, maybe they should have tweaked the balancing on key requirements a bit and made it so there was like 1 key per cyberspace stage and you got other different rewards for the red rings and S rank, so they were actually there for replayability and you didn't feel like you had to do it. Or maybe they could have just given you a key at the A rank and made some other prize for the S rank, or maybe not even had a prize for the S rank, but just made it like actually remotely challenging, you know? I don't know, being given an S rank for something piss easy always feels kind of patronizing to me. I thought the fishing minigame was cute. I mean, mechanically, it's like basically on the same level as the fishing in Animal Crossing with a little QTE at the end, but I enjoyed it as an occasional break from the main game to just sit and chill with the lo-fi music and watch Sonic catch some realistic-ass fish. For some reason, I was really cracking up at how excited he was to catch garbage. Like, excellent! It's a tin can! Oh, fuck yeah, is that a tire? Seriously, he looks so happy. There's some other goofy stuff you can catch, which I enjoyed. So yeah, obviously not a lot going on mechanically here, but in terms of chill vibes, the fishing was enjoyable. It's kind of just funny to me they even brought Big back at all. Like, there was a period of time where it really looked like he was just going to be a retired character. Now here he is in a mainline Sonic game again, and fishing no less. It almost feels like an apology for the way it's handled in Adventure 1. Like, look, we made fishing with Big an optional thing in this game. Now you don't have to hate him. I was wondering if the next game was going to take any cues from the movies after they were so successful, so I guess I shouldn't have been too surprised to see Sonic's new boost aura is crackling blue electricity. It's kind of funny to me they literally just sold this boost style as DLC for colors with the name Movie Boost, and now it's already just the regular boost effect. You can get soap shoes by signing up for their newsletter. That's pretty neat, I guess, although I hope they're accessible to people who want to play this game in the future. There's also these additional gloves and shoes you can get from the Digital Deluxe Edition. Not the first time Sonic has worn brown gloves and shoes. And that's it. I guess there might be some more DLC in the future, but it kind of left me wishing there was a more robust cosmetic system in-game, you know? Like, with all the other explicit references to games, imagine letting you equip stuff from them. That's the kind of gratuitous fan service I would have been all over. Oh yeah, and I guess if you live in Japan, you can also get this special cosmetic DLC from that frickin' dog VTuber. Kind of bullshit they felt the need to region lock this, if you ask me. I'm going to be talking about the story and the end of the game now, so this is your spoiler warning. If you just want to hear whether or not I recommend the game, then yeah, I think at the very least it's worth playing for yourself and forming your own opinion on it. So this game has a lot of specific references to other Sonic games, which really surprised me. Like, a lot of references.
That was on par with Dark Gaia, easy.
But together you stopped the Ark, overcame Neo Metal.
Look, it's an assault model Death Egg robot.
Hey, who was it who stopped Eggman from blowing up Station Square, huh? And who broke me out of prison, or saved me from the Deadly Six's trap? I bet Tangle would love climbing around these ruins.
So these were a nice touch, and you could definitely tell it was the work of Ian Flynn. Like, wait, Tangle is canon in the games now? What? Now, honestly, a Sonic lore aficionado like myself really shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth. After begging for there to be some kind of semblance of continuity between games for so long, it would feel kind of wrong to complain about it. But I will say, sometimes they lay it on a little thick. Like, the first 2 times it happened, it was a pleasant surprise, but after that, I was still enjoying it, but it was kind of like, okay, so when's the next name drop coming up? It was a little distracting sometimes is all. Like, I'm just sitting here trying to enjoy the final cutscene and reflect on my journey, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what the hell? Styx is canon in the main series now? She's not trapped in Boom Purgatory? What? Again, I actually feel bad saying anything negative about it at all, considering this degree of lore pandering almost feels specifically aimed at people like me. And don't get me wrong, if I had to choose between a version of this game with the excessive lore pandering and one without any at all, I would easily choose the one with. But at a certain point, I was just thinking about how this game is also trying to appeal to people who aren't total Sonic nerds like me. How would they feel about every other cutscene some line being like, "Wow, this is just like that time we met Poochie at the fireworks factory"? For the record, it's not like they were just cramming in references for absolutely no reason. They were usually pretty relevant to the situation at hand. Like Tails actually bringing up Infinite to talk about his own wildly inconsistent character writing cracked me up. Like they were actually apologizing for how shitty he was written in that game. And stuff like Knuckles actually mentioning the Master Emerald and being the guardian of Angel Island was pretty nice. The game had a flashback moment where it brought up a screenshot of Sonic 3 and Knuckles and I cracked up laughing. It reminded me of the flashbacks in Metal Gear Solid 4. So overall, the character writing in this game was really good. Leagues ahead of anything else we've gotten in this series for a really long time. And most of the references did just put a smile on my face and make me go, wow, it's like I'm really playing a video game series with actual continuity. Now about the story itself, yeah, it was alright. I can imagine some people really disliking the whole ancient aliens angle. I mean, it's not the first time aliens have been a plot point, but specifically how the Chaos Emeralds are no longer some mysterious, mythical things anymore. They're just some fancy alien space rocks now. I feel like I should have more of an opinion on this, but I kinda don't, really. Like I said, I get why some people wouldn't care for this plot point, but I mean, it's been 30 years. If they want to explain the Chaos Emerald's origins, then fine, why not? I'm not entirely sure how this fits in with the lore they established in Unleashed, what with the cycle of the world breaking and Light Gaia fixing it. They kind of explained that shit's been going on since like the beginning of time, and the Chaos Emeralds kind of seem like an important part of it, but, you know, whatever. The game kinda gave me Adventure 1 vibes at times, but with how the only Sonic characters to show up are Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Big, as well as a new character who was a creation of Eggman who ultimately ends up dying, sort of, and you also end up fighting an ancient, powerful being. They also modeled the aliens to look like Chaos. So, I didn't hate the story or anything, but I wasn't exactly on the edge of my seat either. With how the game is divided into islands, it started to feel a little repetitive. Sonic frees one of his friends and then they're stuck as a cyber ghost. They have some pretty good character interactions where they walk around and look at the ruins and stuff. Then they have some little subplot about helping out some rock babies. Then there's some kind of flashback and Sonic fights a Titan and moves on to the next island. The writing is fine, it's just the plot was a little thin. I mean, just look at the pacing compared to SA2 where things actually, like, happen. This game was just a lot of characters standing around talking and then Sonic fights a Titan. Again, didn't hate it. The character interactions being miles ahead of anything we've had in years helped carry the cutscenes for me. I just wasn't so enthralled with the actual goings-on of the plot itself. You could unlock these egg memos from the fishing game, which had some cute lore references and stuff, but I gotta say, overall it was a bit of a bummer how Eggman had such a diminished presence in this game. I mean, he really did not have much to do this time. Like, yeah, they had that little "I'll let you join the Koopa Troop" scene, which was fine and all, but I wish he'd just been in the game a bit more. Even if he wasn't gonna be the main villain, you know, that's fine. He doesn't always have to be the main bad guy, but he's just such a fun character to have around, you know? Sage was fine. I mean, she had a cool design, but her arc was pretty by the numbers. Like, at first she doesn't like Sonic, but then she does because he's so cool and epic and the power of friendship. But kind of like Eggman, she doesn't actually do that much for most of the story. They kind of set her up as this antagonist, but all she does is tell you to leave a bunch of times, and then she decides she likes you. Like, they even make it explicitly clear she's not controlling the Titans or anything like that. She can just make them pissed off at Sonic. I was kind of hoping we'd get a more direct confrontation with Sage, or that Sonic's whole cyber corruption thing would lead to a cool new form, or just anything really. I had to spend hours with Sonic looking like he was about to die in his idle animation just so he could get healed with the power of friendship and holding hands in a cutscene. Oh yeah, why is the final boss Discount Ikaruga? Like, what the hell? Seriously. I don't even know what to say about this. I already thought it was funny enough when they introduced these hacking challenges in the main game. Like, chill out bro, this isn't Nier Automata. But this was kind of overkill, don't you think? Also, it really cracked me up when the moon was like, "I'm nothing like those other guys you fought before. I'm Infinite." Like, bruh, you literally name-dropped him within this game. Also, the last scene of Super Sonic blowing it up was cool and all, but I was a little disappointed they were teasing some ultimate evil all game and it was just the moon, but evil. I mean, compared to the Titan designs, it's like, come on, what the hell? Sorry, but you'll never be the end to me. You're just a big fucking rock. Oh yeah, and apparently this whole phase only shows up if you're set to hard difficulty, which of course I was because I'm a gamer, but that is kind of weird. So honestly, I think most people can agree that it's generally better when the final boss of a game is actually about testing your skills you learned over the course of that game. However, the Sonic series has always enjoyed introducing a brand new style of gameplay with some Super Sonic segment at the end. Even though it's a bit more coherent to end your game with normal gameplay, it's also nice to end the game with a big spectacle, and Sonic usually delivers on that front. So I was just cracking up that this game actually introduces a supersonic mechanics early, and they're used for every major boss fight in the game, and it still found a way to have the final boss be some other random bullshit gameplay style. As far as the other Titan boss fights go, yeah, they were pretty cool. We don't usually get this much supersonic in one game, so that was fun to see. Again, a lot of your enjoyment here comes from the spectacle, so if you don't like seeing things get all Dragon Ball Z, your mileage may vary here. If you're only interested in things mechanically, then these might not win you over, but I thought they were a nice way to cap off each main island. Oh yeah, and the soundtrack was good. I mean, it better be, it's a Sonic game. It's not my favorite in the series or anything, but I really enjoyed it. All things considered, I liked Sonic Frontiers. I didn't absolutely love every single thing about it and agree with every decision it made, but I still had a pretty fun time with it. And I can understand why there are some people out there who are really into it. Like, I can actually imagine some kid out there picking this up and really liking it and getting into Sonic. Whereas I genuinely cannot imagine that happening with Sonic Forces, even though I guess statistically it probably must have happened at least once. That said, if you hated Frontiers, I actually kinda get that too. I mean, I definitely understand why there's some people out there who are thoroughly unimpressed with this game. If you're hoping for some kind of Sonic Utopia level paradigm shift, you will be disappointed. It is modern Boost Sonic, but actually in an open world environment. You will still be doing modern Boost Sonic things like homing attack chains and grinding on rails and stuff. So if you hated Sonic Generations, then I'm not sure this would be the game for you. So yeah, sorry if that opinion is boring. I didn't love it or hate it. I just kind of liked it. So ultimately, would I recommend Sonic Frontiers? Yes, I would. Wait, I said that already. In some ways, it was very different from other Sonic games, and in other ways, it was not nearly different enough. I am very curious as to how they intend to follow this up. If this game sells well, they may iterate on the open world concept, which could be interesting, especially if they address some of the complaints people have about Frontiers. Or who knows, maybe the next game will be something completely different. Maybe I'll do a more in-depth video on Frontiers in the future. This is more of a first impressions type of video. I'm still mentally digesting the game since it just came out. I might feel very differently when I replay the game in the future. Wait a second. I guess that's a crayfish, not a lobster. Wait, what the hell is the difference? Oh, I guess crayfish live in freshwater ponds and rivers, while lobsters live in saltwater environments like the ocean and, the ocean. Lobsters are also typically larger in size, ranging from 8 to 20 inches compared to the crayfish's 2 to 6.